Good evening, everybody. How very lovely to see you all, and see one or two people still arriving as we speak at the moment, but lovely to see so many faces here already. And for anybody who's new to the choir, a very warm welcome to you. I think there might be one or two joining us this week, so good to have you along, and look forward to meeting you for real before very long. Just a brief reminder that there is what promises to be a fascinating webinar on Thursday, organised by the Association of Teachers of Singing. It's all about the recent study of COVID-19 and singing, and all the details for that are on the City Choir discussion group on Showbie.
Evening.
And if you've not joined that yet, then that accounts for quite a lot of you. I think we're about half or just under half of the choir have joined that group so far. So do join up. I'll give you the details later on as well. But I think it should be a very interesting discussion and find out more about singing and COVID and what's going on. And particular commiserations go to all of you in Birmingham, Sandwell and Solihull at the moment, who I gather are locked down. Isn't it just as well we're doing rehearsals online, given all that's going on? Anyway, time for this week's warm-up. So I suggest that you stand up and we'll get the screen share underway. And here it comes. So welcome to the next of our warm-up series, and we're going to start just with a little bit of physical relaxation at this point. Let's stretch our hands above our heads and stretch backwards. Feel all those vertebrae close up together, and then pull it forwards, bending the back over, and then back again, stretching the breastbone, and then forwards again, so that we just get all that sense of energy back into the work that we're doing. Now let's do some sideways. So we're going to stretch over to your right first of all. Feel the strain coming out in your back and your side, and then over to your left, opening up those spaces here for your breathing. Let's do one more time. To your right, and then over to your left, and we're really opening up that space for breathing. So let's just put hands here just under the rib cage, breathe in, and then blow me over. Let's try that again, breathe in, and then out, blowing me over. And it's always good on those sorts of exercises to try and focus the breath. Imagine you're trying to blow out an imaginary candle some distance away. So you're really focusing the air. Good. Let's just do some sirening on the voice. So we're just going to start around here, this sort of fairly low region in the voice. And we're going to do it to an sound, an N-G sound. Let's do that again, starting on here again. So the purpose of that is just to slide. We're not actually having to take control of the pitch too carefully. We're learning to slide and make the muscle around the voice really flexible across that part of the range. Let's do some breathing exercises using consonants. So we're going to do so 8 double Fs if you like, and then 1 long F at the end. See if you can do it all in one breath. Here we go, and let's try it again. Let's do the same thing now to a sh sound, an SH sound. Here we go. Sh, 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 sh. And another one. Sh, 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 sh. Now let's use the same pattern, but we're doing it on a note and to a brr sound. So we're going to start here and go brr, 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 brr. Okay, here we go. Breathe in and brr, 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 brr. For the next one, let's move it forward. We're going to do brr, 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 so that it's more of a lip trill this time. Here we go. Brr, 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 brr. Breathe in. Brr, 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 brr. And another one, lots of breath. Brr, 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 brr. And another one. Uses up a lot of breath, that one, doesn't it? Okay, let's go back to an old familiar favourite. Alleluia, alleluia. Your turn. Alleluia, alleluia. A little higher. Alleluia, alleluia. Good. And let's now go to another fairly familiar one for most of us who've been singing with the choir for any length of time. We're going to do your turn. And with a bigger slide. Ooh, big slide. Good. Now let's see whether your brains are working. Some of you will have done this before. It's a very simple exercise until you start to do it. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 1. Let's just sing that. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 1. And then as we go up, we change the numbers. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 6, 2, 3. I think you know how it goes. Let's go back to 1. See how far we can get. We should be able to get up to the one that starts with 8, I hope. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 6, 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 7, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 8, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 9, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 10, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 11, 7. I found that quite hard. It wasn't just doing the numbers, it was actually remembering which key we were in and doing the dominant seventh in between to change keys. But I'm sure you did better than I did. So there's a little opportunity for you to have exercise, got your brains working, hopefully ready for the next bit of rehearsal. So there we are, it's got your brains working, I hope, and we're going to move straight into some of the third movement of the credo. So do have a seat again, unless you prefer to jive around. I'm sure you might well do, but there we go. So if you'll find the Et RESURREXIT movement, the last section of the credo, and inevitably you know what I'm going to start with, don't you? It's some German Latin pronunciation. And thank you for the little discussion that went on about German pronunciation, I'd say, on the discussion group during the week. The good news is that whichever pronunciation you decide to do, it's going to be wrong for some people. So, but anyway, as long as we all do the same thing, that's the crucial thing. So let's just look at those words. So at the beginning of that movement, most of it's straightforward until the second line. So et resurrexit tertia die. Let's say that. Et resurrexit tertia die. Secundum scripturas is as normal. And then et ascendit in coelum, sedit ad dexteram patris. Let's do that little collection. Et ascendit in coelum, sedit ad dexteram. It's got that sort of extra e in it. It's dexteram patris. One more time. Et ascendit in coelum, sedit ad dexteram patris. The next one's straightforward. Let's do it straight away. Et iterum venturus est cum gloria, judicare vivos et mortuos. And then one little change in the next bit. Cuius regni non erit finis. Cuius regni non erit finis. Next line is straightforward. Et in spiritum sanctum dominum et vivificantem. And then two little changes coming up at the beginning of the next two lines. Qui cum patre et filio, let's say that. Qui cum patre et filio simul adoratur et conglorificatur. And then another one. Qui locutus est per prophetas. Qui locutus est per prophetas. Next bit's moderately straightforward until we get to the last word. Et unam sanctam catholicam et apostolicam ecclesiam. That little bit of extra eval there. Let's do that little string. Et unam sanctam catholicam et apostolicam ecclesiam. Confiteor unum baptisma in remissionem peccatorum. Absolutely straightforward. Confiteor unum baptisma in remissionem peccatorum. Then et expecto resurrectionem mortuorum. So it's that little T sound, isn't it? Et expecto resurrectionem mortuorum. Et vitam venturi seculi. Amen. Amen indeed. Now, if you're all singing off copies that you've downloaded, you might like to do what I've done with my copy and actually taken a green highlighter pen. And every time there's an annoying word that's got a different pronunciation, I've just used my highlighter pen. If you're using your own score, you probably won't want to do that. And if you're using a score you borrowed from Sue, she will murder you. So please don't mark a real score. You might find an easier way of doing that with a pencil. But let's have a little sing at the first section. Now, we did have a very quick sing through this last week. But it'd be just good to do that. We'll have a little sing through of this bit before we actually give it a little bit of sort of in detail work. I think that will be useful. So this is going right back to the beginning of that movement at bar 1. And I'll just share the screen with you so that you can do it with the accompaniment. And you'll get the chord at the beginning. Here it comes. So I hope that's just given you a little reminder as to how the whole thing fits together. One of the slightly annoying thing with these tracks is that they don't have dynamics on them. But you're perfect at doing dynamics, aren't you? Or are you? I wonder. We'll find out. I can do a little bit of correction at the other end, but if you get to a soft bit and it's actually clear that you're belting it out when you come to record it, it'll sound a little bit odd. So let's go to the piano and do a little bit of work on some sections in that. So sopranos and tenors, I want you to be really careful to focus on the lightness of those top notes. It's really quite high, isn't it? There's quite a lot of stuff high in the range there, so make sure that the tone is really focused Now, I'll be using this again a little bit later on, but a reminder that the straw, my infamous straw, helps you to get that really focused sound there. So try perhaps singing sopranos. Let's just try you singing. Just starting in bar 2 through the straw, and see if you can actually make that sound really focused. Just from bar 2 sopranos, 2, 3, 4. And let's get tenors doing the same exercise. So again, using the straw, you guys. So from the beginning. I'm sure you've realised this, but don't even bother trying to do the words when you're using the straw. Okay, tenors, 2, 3, 4. 2, D. And then it's not so high for you after that, tenors, isn't it? But it's a really good way to get those top notes sounding light and beautifully open and fluent. Basses, your part in this really jumps around quite a lot. Let's just hear the basses doing that first little section. Just really up until bar 10, because it's much slower after that, but I want this to have a bit of precision to it. So basses, 2, 3, 4. To be crisp. Basses, let's just hear you singing Resurrexit tertia die secundum scriptura set, and getting those words really beautifully clear from the end of the first bar. Basses, Resurrexit, 1, 2 and 3. And then the next phrase is equally annoying, isn't it? Et ascendit in celum sed et ad dexteram patris. Let's just do that little bit there. And the whole choir needs to sit on a precise bass line here. Et ascend, 2 and 3. Good. So that needs to be really, really crisp. Altos, your part relative to everybody else in the choir is really quite low in this section. So I've spoken quite often in our sort of face-to-face rehearsals about getting a fantastic focus in the tone. It needs the brilliance in the vowels. Et resurrexis tertia die. And I'm thinking of a focus right down the nose here. So if you can focus on that. Let's hear the altos from the very beginning. 2, 3, 4. Don't be lured by the fact that there's a lot that's all on one note into thinking that it's got to be boring. It really hasn't. You've got to bring it to life with those words. Let's just all say the words of the first, well, from bars 2, 3 and 4. And I want to get that incredible sense of rhythm and percussion in the words that you're saying. So let's actually do it from the very beginning. Place those consonants with care. Just saying the words. 2, 3, 4. Et resurrexit tertia die secundum scripturas et, and stop there. So there must be an incredible sense of energy going on, and it's not just up here, it's down here. Remember the exercise I did at the beginning of the rehearsal with the breathing happening from down here? That's where it's got to be coming from, so really important that that works. Now the slower rhythms, if you just turn over the page to bar 11, still in the same tempo, but you've got this much different feel to this. And then a contrast. So an incredible sense of energy there, even when it's soft. Let's go from you giudicare in bar 11. Okay, breathe where the markings are. 1, 2. Breath, breath, and piano. Forte, piano. Good, so that's a really important section. Let's run from the beginning through till there, and then we'll get straight on and move on to that little fugal bit that comes next. So I'll just share the screen with you one more time, and here comes that little section one more time. So hopefully you're getting that first section under your belts now and realizing how it goes and getting those words nice and crisp. Now this next section that carries straight on from bar 19, just be careful of the word regni. So we've got to remember that pronunciation change from what you might be used to. Regni, with a really, really hard G in the middle of it. This section just down to bar 27 is not a long section, but it needs to be very, very precise and very, very well controlled. Tenors, let's start with you. I want a little bit of bounce in the sound. I want you to think of slight lengthening of the bow on beats 1 and 3, and this goes for all the parts, so you can copy the tenors. Cuius regni non erit finis, non erit fib. So it's got that real sense of energy there. And breathe exactly as it says in your part. So tenors, there's your F sharp for bar 19. Ready? And 1. And all parts, just notice that separate S at the end there. So finis, nis, just a little bit of daylight before you put the S on. It lightens the last note, but then it still has lots of definition to it, which is really important. So tenors, I'm going to trust you. I hope your top A's were sounding good. I hope your neighbours are still speaking to you at the end of rehearsals. If they're that good, they'll be most impressed, I'm sure. Let's go on to the altos next. Now, altos, I hope that you've got the alteration that's in here, because there's a very obvious error in the Novello score. But in bar 20, your nos is on beat 1, not halfway through the bar. So you hear... So it's a really important note. You've got to take the entire world by storm at that point. So the other thing, altos, the melodic part for you in this is not terribly interesting. He's not terribly good with writing good alto lines, is he? So make up for that, please, by the quality of the shaping, the diction, and that sense of rhythmic energy. So altos, I'm going to play from the beginning of bar 19. I want you to come in on that top D. I'm sure you know what a D is. You've heard enough of them so far. Here's bar 19. Breathe. So all the time remembering regni, regni. It really does help to get some rhythm into that. And make sure that the breathing is very fast. Don't waste unnecessary time through the breathing points. Altos, I just want to hear that first note, non! And it's got to be absolutely cataclysmic. Can I hear the altos? 2, 3, 4. I wish I could hear it. I'm so tempted just to unmute all the microphones, but it would sound cataclysmically bad. I know that. So I'm trusting that it's really good. I can see some good people moving almost in time, give or take a bit of latency in the middle. Basses, you're next on my list for working on this. So find your lead in bar 21. I want you to match the phrasing of the tenors. Curious regni non erit, non erit. Feel that energy on beats 1 and beat 3. And you'll notice when you get to bar 24 basses that there is an upward octave jump. Non erit. And I want to have that marvellous Colin Baines moment when the whole music takes off with that octave jump. It's got to be so exciting. So let's have it basses. No, I'm not going to give you your F sharp. I'm going to play in from bar 19. You can find it for yourself. Here's bar 19. Breathe in. Good, and I'd like basses for you to make sure that non-erit has got real definition to it. Use the diaphragm to help that along. It'll really give it some definition at that point, which we need. And sopranos, finally, let's just put you in on the mix. So there's your F sharp to get it going. Quick breathing, and let's just make sure that there's enough air going in to get that top A in bar 25 scintillatingly good. Okay, no clinging onto the bottom of the notes. So here is bar 19, and I want you to come in on your note. Here we go. And 1. Good, I hope that's coming on well. Incidentally, would you all mark a VS at the end of that page? Because if you turn over the page, the next note is not the most obvious. It's a B flat. It's a completely different key, and there's not a lot of time to think about that. So if your page turn is late, it'll just be all over the shop. So let's press on into the next couple of pages, just so that we can then have a go at putting that whole section together once we've done this. Now, for you budding composers, this section has some unusual textures about it. If you look at it, bar 28, 29, 30 onwards for a few bars, it's all in unison while the orchestra is doing interesting things, and then it goes into a little bit of harmony at bar 35. And then he does the same thing again when you get to bar 46, but that time with a lovely orchestral counter melody that's going on underneath that sort of sets the tone for the end of the movement. So unison can be boring if we're not careful. Let's have a look at bar 28. See that marking, a tenuto on the beginning, hold it but diminuendo and place the T on beat 3, and then molto legato. Et in spiritum sanctum Dominum et vivificantem qui cum Patre et Filio. It's not the most inspiring melody, is it? So let's do it beautifully to make up for that. So let's go straight in on bar 28 first of all. We'll do this with all voices in right from the beginning. Don't forget that kfi in the middle line. So et, 2, 3, 4. From there. Reminder please, qui cum Patre, say that? Qui cum Patre, so remember that. So have you noticed how much shaping I'm doing here? Et in spiritum sanctum Dominum et vivificantem. Loads of shape. If you want to just mark in crescendos and diminuendos through all of that, just like I sang it, I'll do it again. Et in spiritum sanctum Dominum et vivificantem qui cum Patre et Filio. Let's all sing that one more time. This time though, before you come in bar 28, I'm going to play you what happens in bar 27. So you've just finished with this. there's your B flat. What a modulation. If I'd done that in my O-level harmony, I would probably have failed. But nevertheless, Haydn thought it was a good idea, so get it right. Up that first inversion arpeggio to get up there. So if I play from bar 27, I'd like you to come in with and that shaping is so important. Here we go. So that section goes on. So let's have a little run through, shall we? I'd like to do from bar 19 right the way through to bar 41. So two very, very different sections, all coming in one after the other. So make sure that you're aware of that style change over the page turn, so that you are right on top of it before it beats you to it. Remember your pronunciation as well. So here comes, so this is just picking up just before bar 19 so that you get a little bit of feel for it. It's just about a bar in. And here it comes. So that section, it's more about style than difficult notes. The notes are not too difficult in that section at all, but it's really important that we all sing it in the same style. It's funny, isn't it? We get so used to listening to style when we're singing together in a room, but actually you've got to store that away when you're singing this on your own and make sure that you really can deliver the style when you record it. And that will make such a difference if we can get that right, make a real quality recording out of it. So your next section, which starts in bar 47, is very, very similar, but it's in a different key, and we've just got to get a little bit more sense of style in this, a little bit of shape, and all the time going against this lovely, lovely, elegant orchestral accompaniment. So let's just do a few notes on that first of all. Tenors. I'd just like you to be aware of one or two things in the second part of this section. If you look at bar 54, you'll see that you've got Confiteorum baptisma in remissionem, and that's just got to be carefully placed. Let's just do that. Confiteor, 2, 3. Confiteorum baptisma in remissionem. And that little lead at the end, peccato, little accent on that just to give it a little bit of extra energy. The sopranos are going to be doing the same thing, I hope. Let's ask the sopranos to do that a little bit. Let's have a look, sopranos at bar 53. You've got a similar bit to the tenors here, but a little bit different. Confiteorum baptisma in remissionem. So again, that little passage, make sure that the two minor thirds downwards are beautifully placed so we don't have any flatness at that point. Okay, so sopranos bar 53, Confiteor. 1, 2, and 3. Little accent. And then a bright C sharp. So in bar 58, it might be worth just marking that C sharp sopranos up to give it a little bit of extra brilliance at that point. Remember, please, that little bit of accent, sopranos and tenors. Don't be ashamed in bar 56 of giving a little bit of extra weight at that point. Now, there is sort of one crazy note on the end of this section as well, because by the time we all get to the bottom of page, whatever it is, page 52 in the printed score, I think it's page 5 on Shobi, there's an S at the end, and sort of cliffhanger ending. So we'll sing it all through and just have a little go at that section just with the piano, I think, and then just see whether we can get that et on the end. And of course it's a cliffhanger because the soprano solo comes in just after that. So let's start at bar 47. I'm going to play in from bar 46, and again, can you do the shaping with these phrases like I did before? So we start with that et unam sanctam catholica et apostolicam ecclesiam. So all together, here is bar 46. Let's just do a little bit of the harmony bits at the end of that for everybody. Bar 53. And again, the text is so important, so please don't let the words shrink into the background. Confiteor. Bar 53. I'll just play the harmony parts for you this time. 1, 2, and 3. Accent. Breath. 3, 4. Good. And I love that ending there. And then suddenly, from a rather morose sort of D minor, it's suddenly back into beautiful, beautiful D major over the page. So that's a lovely sense of changing moods to do. So I'd like to run that little section with the accompaniment. Let's just bring it up for you. So we're going back to your lead in bar 47. And we're just going to run that through with the accompaniment so that you can see how that all fits. And we'll just go through to the bottom of the next page. So here comes the screen share for that one. Here it comes. Good. So I hope you're getting to grips with that little section there. It's actually not too complicated, is it? But the style is so important. Don't forget that element of shaping that's so important to make it sound really musical, especially in the unison phrases. It's so important there. Okay. Good. So let's move on then to the last block of this movement, which is the one that starts across on bar 76. So at this point, you're beginning to feel like you're on the home stretch of the movement, which is rather good. And you'll love that little interjection from the soprano soloist at that point, just before you come in. So let's just do one or two things. Incidentally, when we get to the end of this, before we run the whole movement through, there'll be opportunity for any questions. So if you've got anything that's bugging you, put it into the chat while it's in your head. and then I can make sure that we've answered that. We had one or two things that cropped up after last week's rehearsal, so just pop them in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them for you. So bar 76, and we're going to start with the tenors at this point, because I want to make sure, tenors, that you've got the amendments from what was originally in the score. So the first note at bar 76 for you is 4 beats, and then it goes down to that D sharp at the bottom, rather than, I think it was said something like that, which just wasn't right. So make sure that you've got that amendment in there. And I really want you to take command of this. The tenor part's fab in this section. It really goes lyrical. Give the rest of the choir a hard time. So tenors, let's set the scene. Et vitam. Et vitam. And that should just be so, so beautiful. Tenors, let's look at straight in for the moment. There is your A for bar 76. A 1, 2, 3, 4. Et vitam, et vitam, venturis seculi, amen, amen, and on we go from there. It's such a good line. Tenors, I think the crescendo in bar 76 is most important for you. Will you really make sure that happens? Because then the rest of the choir will be spurred on to do something really fantastic for you. Let's next, please, do a little bit of altos and basses together. So I'm so sorry. Let's get this right. I want basses on their own, first of all. Et vitam, and it's really high in the range for your basses, so make sure that, again, it's got a sense of glory about it. How are you going to find that D sharp? Well, the bass line in the whole piece at letter K, bar 76, is on a D, and it goes, there's your D sharp. So it's not too hard to find, but you need to think about it. So here is bar 76. Bass is only coming on the D sharp. 1 and 1, 2. Actually, once you pass those first couple of phrases, it's not too difficult. But bass is just, again, shaping. Et vitam. V is the most important note. 1, 2. Et vitam. And carry on. Venturis seculi. So that's shaping. Be very, very generous with the shaping during those two phrases. That will be very good. Now, altos and tenors, will you make sure in bar 76 as well that you do find your notes with care in plenty of time? So the soprano solo finishes. This is bar 73. So altos, to find that F sharp, if you find that G that the soprano soloist gets up to, just hum it in your head an octave down, and then you're going to come in on the F sharp just next door. And tenors, I suggest that you've got, you go from the G up to the A, and then you're all nice and secure for that at that point. Okay. Really important that you just find that. Basses similarly should be easier for you because it's precisely D there, so it should be pretty straightforward. So sopranos, let's just very quickly have a look at the shaping for you at bar 77. Et vitam. Shade off the ending so that it's really elegant. Let's go in from bar 76. You're coming in the next bar. Here's the lead. 1, 2. Straightforward. So I think that should sit together nicely. Tenors, just make sure that you really do give us a run for your money. Let's do the last section from here. We're going to split into two groups at this point. So we're going to start tenors and basses on their own first of all, from bar 88. Let's just do that section there. Now you've got to accompany here. It's quite high in your range, so go easy on the tone, but make sure it's gently heading towards bar 91. I suddenly realised that I was trying to put the words in, and there are two lots of words for the tenors and basses, and they're in different places. So let's do bar 88, put tenors and basses together. 2, 3, 4. Breathe. And 1. Convenient that Haydn does it twice through, so you get 2 goes at getting it right. Now, sopranos and altos, your bit in this, I think, is a little bit harder to get right, because this phrasing, oh, my top A, help me. But it's got to be really precisely phrased. I'm going to suggest that although there's a rest after the first 2 notes in bar 89, that you don't actually breathe, just make a gap, and then the tone, it's easier to get the tone going again. So in 89, no breath at the first rest, sorry, the second rest, the one in the middle of the bar, and then there's another one of those in bar 98. So just mark that in so that you've got that all nicely scripted on your part there. So here is bar 88, and let's see if we can get those offbeats really beautifully poised. Here's 88. Breathe in now. Breathe. So let's see if we can put that together, all 4 parts just with the piano, going in from bar 85. So tenors on the A, basses on the C sharp, altos on the G, and sopranos on the E. So basses and tenors, just make sure you're in the right way around there. So tenors below the basses is what we're heading for, okay. That's your chord in 85. I'm going to play from the previous bar, and I'd like you to come in 85. Here we go. Breathe. Sopranos and altos, I'm just going to give you one more chance to sing for me. And up to that top A, and get it really beautifully done. And will you just make sure that in the second bar, there's no gap once you've got past that rest at the beginning, yeah? So it's a great sense, that energy of the offbeats there. So sopranos and altos. Bar 89, just getting those really, really light detachments at the end of the bar. 89, here's the bar before in. 3, 4. Good. And I find that chord is just for me such a special moment. It was a real genius thing, I think, dear old Mr. Haydn doing that at that point. It's just what you're not expecting, isn't it? It would be so easy, but... And the fact that he does it twice just to make it very, very obvious that you did get it right and it wasn't a mistake, I think is pure genius. Good. Let's just have a look at the very, very ending. There's a little coda, bars 104, 5, 6, 7 and 8. And again, I'm going to encourage you to think of the straw, because that up as you come in, or for the altos. I wonder whether you could just, sopranos and altos, I'd just like to see you trying to hum that through your straws. I can see lots of people with no straws. Yes, you. Lots of people with straws. In fact, oh, here they go. The straws are coming out en masse now. Fantastic. So what I want to just to try doing is, and put your hand under the bottom and make sure that the air is flowing, but that it's not wasting so much breath that it's causing sort of damage to the sound. So there are your notes, altos and sopranos. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. So with that in mind, now sing it without the straw, but use the same amount of air as the straw lets out. Let's try that. 2, 3, 4. So that's the sort of sound I'm after. So know how to do it and practice with the straw. It's a marvelous way. It's actually a very voice-saving way of warming up the voice too, because it makes sure that you're using the air in a really impressively effective way. Tenors and basses. So underneath that third from the altos and sopranos, tenors, I'm sure you'll find your note because it's just in octaves with the sopranos. But basses, you've got to find that to give us the sub-mediant chord at that point. So let's just do tenors and basses. Here's bar 102, tenors and basses coming on. Breathe. And tenors, that one point just before the end where you don't breathe at all and everybody else does, make sure that the tenor part is magnificent at that point. I'm sure it will be. Good. I'd like to run that section from bar 76 with the accompaniment, and once we're through that we'll actually go back and see if we can do the whole movement all in one go. So let me just get that back up on the screen, and this accompanied version is going to pick in from bar 74, so you've got a couple of bars of pickup. It's not very long, but it should be enough just to get you going correctly at that section. So here's bar 74 through to the end, and just get that real sense of style and great sense of rhythm. Here it comes. Oh, have I given you the right share? 1 second. Oh, why is this so jolly complicated? Here we go. There's always one, isn't there? Mr. Lucas gets it wrong once a week. Yeah, you can laugh. Here we go. Right. I'm really looking forward to the point where we've got some orchestral tracks to play you rather than synthesized ones, but it's a great way of giving me a chance to listen to what you're doing. So let's go back to the beginning then. Now, before we do that, has anybody got any queries or things they're not quite sure about, anything about the pronunciation that you'd like me to run through? Someone was asking after last week's rehearsal about surlis and just trying to get that sound of sound, the O umlaut sound of German, surlis. But perhaps you're doing better with the German this week. No questions at all.
I'd like to just say one thing, and that is in bar 55 on the learning track and in the Robbins Landon edition, the tenors have G sharp A quavers on the first beat of the bar.
Oh, that's an interesting one. First bar.
Yeah. And that's what plays on the learning.
So track. They do. Good. Let's amend to that, and I'll get it updated in the score. Thank you, Colin. That's good. Yeah, no, I'll get that marked in. I'm just going to put a little mark on there as well. Good. Yeah, the Novello edition was beautifully free and easy to get hold of, but it's littered with rubbish, which is why I tend not to use Novello editions or the older Novello editions of things anyway. Good. Any other questions? The chat line is remarkably quiet this evening. You're obviously saving it up for the 15 minutes at the end of gossip time. There was some very interesting chat last week actually about COVID symptoms and just what it's like to have them and what it does to your voice and your breathing and stuff. So there's some interesting chat goes on at the end. Okay, so let's finish then with a run through of this whole movement, if you're all ready for that. So I'm just going to put the share up on the screen. And you'll get your chord first and then put some real energy into it. You might like to stand up perhaps just before we do this. Okay, here it comes. Great stuff. Good. Well, I'm pleased we got through that movement tonight because there's quite a lot of it, and well done. Great seeing you all standing up and having a jolly good old sing there. Just a couple of things just to finish off. As usual, we're going to leave the Zoom meeting open for another 15 minutes or so in case you'd like a bit of a catch up. Don't forget to unmute. You can have a catch up, but nobody will hear you if you leave your microphone muted. Another reminder of what promises to be a fascinating webinar about COVID and singing online on Thursday. All the details of that are on the City Choir discussion group on Shobi. If you haven't joined that discussion group yet, all you do is go into Shobi, and just like joining a class, you join a group, and the code is B for Bravo 2, M for Mike 38, B for Bravo 2 Mike 38. And then you can see all the other discussion that's going to be going on. I'm also going to be closing the class discussion from tonight, so we can put all the discussion in one place on the discussion group. Then it's just slightly less admin for me to do at this end, if that's okay. And do keep an eye on Shobi for news, information and notices, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. But before we just go, John, is there anything you wanted to add in terms of notices tonight?
Evening, everybody. No, there's no real notice at all. There was a question earlier on about what we're doing with our scores from earlier on in the year. I don't think Sue Franklin's on the rehearsal tonight, but when I spoke to her a couple of weeks or so ago, she said she's relying on the music libraries to get in touch with her to say they want the music back. So until that point, people just please hang on to your scores for Carmina and such like. Apart from that, it's very hot here in this room. I've had to close all the windows and doors so not to annoy the neighbours. Yeah, hope everybody has a good few days.
Fantastic. Thank you, John. And just a piece of news, I actually heard from Gabe tonight that our Christmas concert is definitely not happening. They're just not doing any of their Christmas stuff this year.
Surprise, surprise.
So I don't know whether that's come to the choir generally, but I thought it best just to let you know anyway. So hopefully we might do a few carols like this. If you can survive this, you can survive anything. So let's see what we can do. We'll be having a think about that to see if we can get something going. But thank you all for your attention tonight, and hope that's not been too much of a chore this evening. Lovely to see you all, and hope that you're keeping well, whether you're locked down or whether you're in a slightly more open and easy state of mind, whatever you happen to be. But thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.
Okay. Bye. Thanks, Adrian.
Adrian.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian.
Bye,
Adrian.
Thanks. Very hot now. Gotta go. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Adrian. Bye.